Welcome to this week's video. Welcome to the garden where I have to sort out a very overgrown corner that looks like it's after eating the pond that I put in 2 years ago. I also have a little update over at the bees at the apiary and an attempt to visit a cute hidden garden. In the last garden video, you would have saw I had a very satisfying deep clean of the laneway and I got rid of loads of pots. Well, when I say got rid of them, I just took them out of the laneway space and they were just dumped in the back garden. Now I need to empty them out and clean them up. So the plants that were in them, they are dead. They are gone. Because I had let the pots just dry out and go to weed, and there was some self-seeding trees in them and weeds, everything in them is dead. So the soil is probably not in good condition. So what I normally do is when I have old pots that I need to empty out, I will empty it all into the wheelbarrow, see if there's anything in it, if there's anything salvageable. And then I will bring that soil over to underneath the tree. I have like a wild little shady corner. Hedgehog likes to rest over there whenever he does visit. So I'll just dump any used soil over there. The area underneath the tree has actually done surprisingly well this year because I have done absolutely nothing to it. Brunneries have grown really well. There is some ferns. I think I just lost a couple of astilbes, but I got them out of the bargain basement last year, so I don't feel too bad about that one. Normally I mulch this area. I did mulch it with leaf clippings kind of throughout the year, and sometimes if the compost heap is full, I'll just throw the grass clippings to use as a mulch. So it seems to be working, just throwing the random stuff that I have. Random bits of soil, random bits of mulch. Seems to be helping this little corner underneath the tree. I absolutely love these pots. They're giving very French cottage farmhouse vibe. I cannot for the life of me remember where I got them from, but I didn't upcycle them or anything. I bought them like this, and it's a good couple of years ago from one of the garden centres. I think it might have been Johnstown where I got them. There's no labels or anything on them, but they do look like something that you'd find maybe in a salvage yard if you got one of those old, what is it, the milk churn, is that what it's called? Things like that. So because a lot of these pots have been houses for dead plants, I'm going to give them a good clean. It's not my favourite thing, cleaning pots, and it's very tempting for me to just put new soil in them and plant something, but that is how bacteria and disease is spread. So if there was a plant in here that had a disease or anything like that, it's good practice to clean them, even though it's my least favourite of tasks. Okay, my next job I need to do is I need to tackle this area that has become quite overgrown. There is magnolia tree, loads of new growth are all around this year, looking good. I have this evergreen lilac thingy that needs to be just pruned back, get some air circulating. There's a rambling rose rambling on the ground, which is not where I want it. That has to be pinned into the fence. Aquilegia seed heads, but then when you get over here, it is more chaotic. So this is where I just let a patch of grass grow, but this geranium, which I absolutely love, has grown into the pond, and it's basically eaten the pond. The bird bath is not, there's no water in it, it's filthy, that needs to be cleaned. And then there's all these grasses and overgrown stuff in the back. Now, as you can see, this geranium is full of bees, so I don't think I'm going to touch it just yet, but I'm going to take out all these dead grasses from the pond and assess the pond situation. I don't even know if there even is a pond in here, but I can definitely see some creeping buttercup is after getting in, and yeah, like you can't even walk through this, but I need to be careful. There's loads of bees on it and I don't want to interrupt them, but when you go over this side you'll see a lot of the planting that was around the edges is dead, has been eaten. When I look into the actual pond, I can just see the roots of the pond is underneath this. So yeah, bit of a pond fail. The garden has eaten the pond. So I'm going to see if I can cut back a section and try and reclaim a bit of order here, because yeah, it is a bit chaotic. So in this flower bed, there's 3 plants that are intertwined, tangled through each other. The first one is I have a rambling rose that I did not realise how much new growth it has gotten this year. So there has been an upside to all that lovely rain we've been having here in Ireland. The trees are looking lush, shrubs are loving it, everything has got a lot of growth. So I had to add string to the fence so that I could tie in the rambling rose, because I want that to grow along the fence. So there's enough stems on it. I want it to go to the left of the fence and then to the right of the fence, so that I will see the lovely blooms on the fence in springtime or summertime. Can't remember the name of this rambling rose, but it is scented and it has a lovely kind of deep red purpley kind of flower on it, and it has like clusters of flowers, and it started flowering I think early June, and there is still some flowers on it. I'm going to leave the ones that are left to just turn into rose hips. Once the rose was sorted and that wasn't kind of growing through things, I could then just clip back the lilac, and I wanted to just open up some space to let some air in. I needed to also assess what weeds have been growing, and I also have lost plants. So because these other plants have naturally grown big, it has blocked the light from some perennials. There used to be a lovely white verbena in here, that's gone. I also had verbena borendi, you know, the tall purple verbena. It begins with a B. I've lost 2 of those, and it's because there is creeping buttercup going along, getting in from the grass, and it's getting into the bed, so I need to weed all of that out. So I wouldn't say that this section is a bit of a fail. I just think that things are thriving, but I needed to check in maybe a bit sooner, because I could have dug up the perennials and moved them somewhere instead of letting them die. The Californian lilac that you see, I actually got that in Lidl back in 2020 for like bargain bin. I swear it was like €1 or €2. I had it in the front garden, the front border, and it did not like it at all. And I moved it, I think, the year before last, and it is thriving. But my goal is I want to clip it into almost like a tree. What I love about this is it's got lovely evergreen foliage, and this does be buzzing when it flowers. There's beautiful little purpley lilac-y flowers on it, and it does be humming with bees and insects. I wanted to just give the magnolia tree and this bush some space, and as it's kind of growing, I'm just going to clip it and shape it. But I do like that it gives me some evergreen colour. And right on cue, the robin and the blackbird popped into the garden, because anytime I cut the grass, weed something, potter about, they are straight down to see what juicy worms have been left in the soil for them. Now, in this section, I do have some self-seeded Aquilegia. I love the Aquilegia in here when it's flowering around about May time. And I just clip back some of the seed heads. It does really well in here. I just shook some seeds, and I have loads of self-seeded Aquilegia in the garden. It's popping up in random places. Some people might say it's starting to look a bit weedy, but I love it. Sadly, I did have some mint in a pot. Oh, mint. Do not allow mint into the ground, because it is one thug. That's why a lot of people will keep it in a pot. I have some that seeded into this border, and like that the mint killed the verbena that was here. So I'm going to pull it out by the root, and hopefully I've gotten most of it. I love mint, but I just don't want it in the border because it will quickly take over. It's kind of like when you have nettles in a section, it will just run rife. If you have an area for it where you can let it do that and give it a big space, it looks amazing, but not when I have lots of other plants in this area. I also have creeping buttercup, which in this area of the garden is where I have the most creeping buttercup. It's because I let that section grow wild, my little wild patch, and the geranium kind of keeps it in check. But that is the bane of my life in this corner. And again, I just pull it up by the hand. Again with the rain we've been having, it has been thriving. So I just have to get in and do a good weeding. Like, this took me about an hour, and it was quite satisfying to see it all kind of cleared out. I didn't have any mulch left. If you saw the last garden video, my trick for when you have a messy corner is a bit of weeding, throw a bit of mulch on, and it looks really clean. But I used up all of my mulch last week. I would love to know, share in the comment section, what is your weed of choice? Well, maybe not of choice, but what is the one thing in your garden, the weed that annoys you the most? Thankfully, I'm very lucky. I don't have things like bindweed. For me, it is the self-seeding trees, because they just fall into my garden every year and I'm having to pull them up. So the self-seeding trees and the creeping buttercup. But I don't mind the creeping buttercup in the grass. I just don't want to go into the borders where my pretty plants are. I would say that they are my two pet peeves in the garden. I don't really mind anything else. I do get some dandelion ones, but I suppose, yeah, dandelions as well. But because I mulch a lot, I don't get as much as them. But even with mulching, that creeping buttercup likes to just get in. I find this time of year the compost heap is just getting huge. I feel like this time of year in the garden, it's a lot of kind of pruning and clipping back. I was saying that in the last garden video, that I feel like I'm doing a lot more of that in this year than in previous years, just because things are starting to kind of mature a bit and get a bit big, a bit wild. They're starting to compete with each other, and I'm having to step in and see what plants I have lost. Like in this border, I remember a couple of years back, if you go back to older videos, when this was literally it was just a patch of grass. There was no pond. There was nothing here. And I remember I put in lupins. Now, I relearned the lesson that lupins in my garden are just a no, because the slugs eat them. And I've noticed that instead of lupins, if I do foxgloves, so the slugs don't bother my foxgloves. But I did buy a lupin, and I had it in the pot in the front when I did the little pot display. That lupin was massacred. Absolutely, it was sacrificial. The slugs, there's not a leaf left on it. There was just a trail of slime and a seed head left on top. So at least they left me the seed head. I could maybe grow some more. But I remember I had 4 lupins in here when this was just getting going. The magnolia tree was planted and it was just a twig. Those lupins never came back. They're gone. There was a geranium in here, but the pink one competed with it. So that's the king. So yeah, I have lost a couple of little plants along the years off this. So I need to, as things are getting mature and growing, just assess, what can I put in here? Because like that, if the shrubs and stuff are gonna block the light, yeah, I need to get the gardening books out. I need to have a look and see what Monty Don is doing in his. One of my favourite things to do is look at the birds, having a little bath. I just realised in the past few days, it has been empty. Like, while it has been raining, I find this time of year things are just drying out and you gotta step in. Can't rely on the rain, even with all of the rain we've been having. So I needed to clean the bird baths out because I can see them now from the kitchen window. Now that I clip back that lilac, I can actually see the bird bath again from the window. So I get to enjoy them. So I need to keep on top of keeping it clean for them. So now onto the pond, and yes, there is a pond in here that a couple of years ago my brothers, they dug it out for me. We put in one of those pond shape bucket thingies, looks like a little bathtub, and I put pond grass, there's iris in it, there was pond grasses, and there was a lily in it as well. But this year I just don't know what happened. I didn't tend to this corner, and it's like it has dried up. There is still water in it, but it's like the grasses kind of absorbed all the water. Debris fell in, so there is some leaves and mud. I don't know how the debris got in, like if it was from trees or if it was blown in, but there is a lot in it, especially compared to previous years. Like last year, this was very wildlifey. It had like the pond grasses were green and healthy and tall. There was lots of little pond snails. It was starting to look like a proper little wildlife corner. And this year, like, it happened quite quickly, or else I just wasn't paying attention. It just was eaten up by the garden, so I couldn't see any pond snails left in it. It was much drier, and there's just lots of dead kind of garden waste in it, and I don't know how it got in there. So I think the grasses were dying off, and that kind of bulked it up. And I think with the geranium starting to grow over it, that was blocking any water and rain from getting in. So yeah, I have had a absolute fail with the pond, and I'm gonna have to, first of all, I'm just cutting back all of that grass that is just dead now, and then I will have to assess the damage. So when the flower goes over on this geranium, I'm going to cut it right back, and I'll have to literally cut out the pond again, remove all of the dead pond grasses and debris, and start from scratch. So it looks like what happened is, if I go in this way, this is the pond surround, and it looks like it dried up, but there is like debris and muck from some of the pond plants, but some fallen debris. And yeah, I don't know, I think the good old that geranium is just thriving, but the roots of the geranium are not in the pond. It's just grasses, but as you can see, it's all dried up. What I'm gonna have to do is, if I step back, I'm gonna have to cut out the pond. I'll let the bees, and this is humming with insects, so I'm not gonna do it now. And then I'll cut this out, and I'll have to start again and keep an eye on it, because it's gonna happen. I love that geranium, but it is a thug in this corner, and now I'm left with a gap here on the fence. So I think something evergreen would be nice here. But yeah, I need to, actually, this is honesty that has self-seeded, so that's going to flower next year. That's self-seeded from last year, so I'm excited to have some of that, because that is a beautiful spring flower. There's loads of self-seeded Aquilegia along here as well. So yeah, there's my pond fail. I also found some of these lights, forgot about them because they have been covered in shrubbery, so I just moved them over to the raised beds. So yeah, I'm going to go rescue them. Okay, I am just after doing a hive inspection. I'm on my phone, sorry, and the swarm that I caught in June has a new queen. She has successfully started to lay fresh eggs, so that means I'll have a strong, well, hopefully a strong colony for them going into hibernation. I think I'm going to leave them in the nuke box. They were going to get hived up, but then I realised, hang on, They were gonna get hived up until I realised there was no queen in it about 3 months ago, and I noticed there was queen cells. So I knocked all the queen cells off except for one. That queen emerged. I could see that the cell was open, left the hive alone for like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Checked it last week, no laying queen, and I was like, oh no, because I'll have to do a test frame of eggs if she didn't. But I checked it today, so it's about 3 weeks since the cell was opened, and there's fresh eggs. So I need her to have a good few numbers going into winter. Also, apologies for my scabby lip. Dirty pints in the pub gives you a dirty lip. So I have queen, new queen, but the little wasps are robbing the hive up here. So I've reduced the entrance for this hive up here, but I'll show you. The wasps are trying to get in now. The girls are killing the wasps, but let me show you. So you might see there is some wasps hanging around. There's about 5 of them, and when they do try and go into the entrance, the girls are killing them. But I'm just like, you can see a wasp down here. See them floating around in the grass, and then they just wait for their moment to get in and try and steal from my girls. Now, even though they have super boxes on, there's like no honey in this. I just put it on to give them some space so the worker bees could have somewhere to go, because there's a new queen in here, and last week she had 4 frames of eggs. So there's 10 frames in the bottom, so she has loads of room to lay and hopefully have a good colony for winter. But the last thing I need is people stealing from them, aka the wasps. Now you can actually see on this one, so a wasp has tried, look, they're defending it, can you see? Oh, there's a wasp just at the water fountain just there, and he's after, or she is after, trying to get in. And all of the bees, the guard bees, have just come to the entrance to fight, to say no, you're not getting in. So they only have a small entrance anyway. But yeah, I need to chat to the guys in my group about the wasps. So I have these little water drinkers next to each of the hives for the girls, and they use them because I'm always filling them up, but the wasps are always, they're using them as well. So I don't know if it's attracting wasps to the hive, but the girls need to drink. So I just thought that was fascinating to watch. They literally all came to guard the entrance so that the wasp couldn't get in. They were doing that in the other hive, but the entrance is probably the size of this one. That's the entrance size that I have. So yeah, these girls are strong, very strong. They've got a new queen, they've got a good energy, they're stopping all the wasps getting in. Quite happy about that. This little butterfly has been following me around, but look at its wings. I was watching a documentary about I think it was like it was just like wild insects, but it was saying about how their wings, oh hang on, she's flown off, but that their wings literally fall apart, like because they fly around so much and mate, and you can see that her wings, there's like damage to them. Oh, nature does be so cruel. The same thing happens to bees. They get damaged wings. The worker ones, the forager bees, towards the end of the season before they die, they could have little damaged wings. Also, once they're not diseased, because there is a thing about damaged wings being disease with varroa or something, but a normal worker bee this time of the year would start to have little damaged wings. Poor little butterfly. So you know how I love to bring us to pretty gardens in random places that I stumble across. But I wanted to visit the wall garden at Hamwood house, but I didn't book it online. I thought I could book it when I got there. So this is all I got to see today, but we will come back when it's open. Oh no, I've made a mistake. I've come And the cafe is in here to get a ticket to do the woodland trail, which is right in here, and it looks absolutely adorable. The garden looks so pretty, but everything is closed. It did say it was Heritage Week, so it was open during the week this week, but I have just come and there I can't see anybody. I'm the only car here, unless they don't open on a Monday, but it did say from the 17th until the 24th. Oh, so I can only admire it from here. So it looks like the coffee shop is in there. You can see there's like stables and stuff, woodland coffee. But yeah, it's all closed up. This gate is lovely as well, but it's locked. So please pop into the cafe for trail map. Oh no. I have an epic fail. Yes. Looks like there is a little pond in there. A bit of pond inspo needed. Oh, this trail looks like it would be a good one. If you are new to my channel, or if you haven't been around in a while and you want more garden videos, I have a playlist on my channel that is just for the gardening content. So if you want to see my journey from going from a square patch of grass in the front and the back to my attempt at a cottage garden, then check out the cottage garden playlist. I'll pop a card here and also in the description box as well. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new, and like and comment and say hello to the community in the comments section below.